Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Managed Chaos Sunday show. So here's what we're doing is every Sunday going to come live here, just going to rant, ramble, kind of do what I would normally do if I'm sitting here by myself. Hopefully I entertain more than I offend, but if I do offend you, too fucking bad. Grow some balls, harden the fuck up a little bit. What we do here is we talk about real shit. We talk about it in a very raw way. We talk about it in a way that the average human being, talks when they're not in front of a camera. Um, I am in front of a camera and still don't give a fuck. I'm gonna speak the way that normal human beings do. Maybe normal human beings don't swear as much as I do, but I think that in the general context of things, that most people have conversations in this very similar fashion. So, if you guys like what I'm doing here, give me a like, give me a subscribe, hit the notification button so that when I do go live, that when I post a new show, you guys get notified. So, want to start this off by saying thank you to everybody. Had an amazing weekend. Started off on Friday by going out and seeing an old friend by the name of Derek Downing. Derek is a world champion inline speed skater, world renowned, one of the most celebrated American athletes in history of all sports. Derek has a couple dozen medals at the world level. Has been part of the Team USA for inline speed skating, Pan American Games. Has numerous gold medals, bronze, silvers, has held world records, has held, of course, national records, hundreds of national titles throughout his career. And Derek has now become a car enthusiast. He's a car racer. So he happened to be here in Texas for one of the largest car events that's held anywhere in the world. It's called TX2K. So this year it's TX2K 22, and it is held at the Houston Raceway out in Baytown on the far east side of town. Fantastic event, but it was mind blowing to sit here and see this event because what they're doing out there, these are just car enthusiasts. These are people that like to go out there and watch car races, that like to race cars, but they're not getting paid to do this. These are people that just love the sport of car racing. And so Derek actually drives a CTSV. I believe it's a 2000 or 2007 or 2008 Cadillac CTSV. It is a stock CTSV modified to a race car. So what they've done is they took an original CTSV. It's the original frame, original body, and they've added to it. So Derek falls into what is called the heavyweight class. So about 4,300 pounds. And they go out and they race these stock cars that are essentially modified to go fucking 150 to 180 miles an hour. Now, Derek has, this insane massive engine in it, plus superchargers and all this other things. To kind of put this in perspective, when you buy a stock CTSV, it is a Corvette Z06. The Cadillac CTSV is a four-door sedan that can beat the average Corvette, the average stock Corvette. It is the same exact thing mechanically as a Corvette Z06. And now and that's fast. That's a very, very fast car. You're talking about doing 0 to 60 in the 3.5 to 4 second range. Very, very fast car to start with. Now they're going and went from, around say 450 to 500 horsepower. They're now pushing around 1,000 horsepower out of this vehicle. So I watched Derek. I was only able to watch him actually do one run in the afternoon, but the power from that this vehicle generated literally lift the front end of his vehicle off the ground. I was able to get a pretty amazing shot. They gave me some past credentials. I could go down on the pits. I could walk down the racetrack, about to the start finish line, right where he was starting at, and it was amazing because the car literally comes off the fucking ground. It was so fantastic. I was so pleased to be there. So thrilled to be able to get to spend time with Derek. We actually did a show out there sitting in front of his car that will be going up in about a week's time. I've got a lot of shows that are in the can right now. So anyway, that's how the weekend started out there at TX2K in Baytown. If you guys are ever in the Houston area and you guys love cars, I strongly suggest you get out there and go see this, because again, it's these are car enthusiasts. These are guys that just love the sport. They're not getting paid to do this. But when you go out there, it's going to be it's going to be insane, because everything is open to everybody. You just can't go down in the pits and things like that, but you can walk around in the staging area. All the cars are out there. You can walk around where all the car haulers are, and you're talking about $500,000 Lamborghinis that have $500,000 worth of parts put into them, and they're doing 230, 240 miles an hour. These are some insane, fucking insane vehicles that are going out there. There are GTRs, there are Supras, there are Vipers, there are McLarens. They're all over the place. You're probably looking at about $30 to $40 million worth of cars that were bought stock. That these are just, cars that people can go onto the show floor somewhere and they can buy and they modify them. So they're already starting out with a $300,000 vehicle, and they're putting another $500,000 into it. And then on top of that, they're hauling it around in a $500,000 rig. It's insane to see it. But again, these are enthusiasts. These are people that just love the sport for the sport. They're not getting compensated for it. Yeah, they get some free wheels or tires. Yeah, they get engine modifications here and there, stuff like that. But they're not getting paid to race, and they're spending, $50,000, $60,000 a year. And so it's really something to see with all of the people out there. So also huge shout out to Regina McKinley there at one of Derek's teammates, and Vengeance Racing. You guys are awesome. Regina, you're an awesome competitor. I loved getting to sit down and talk with you. Thank you so much for spending time with me and showing us around your car and everything. I really appreciate that. And again, huge shout out to Vengeance Racing out there at TX2K. You guys are great. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you for what you guys do for Derek and his teammate Regina and the other teammates. Really awesome gig you guys did out there. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. A huge shout out to my friend Ben Walsh and fourth Fred Lacey. It's great getting to hang out with you guys out there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You guys really started the weekend off right. So next thing I'm going to jump into is the Garcia wedding. Thank you guys so much for hosting us at your house yesterday. I had it in my calendar as brews before hose, but it was kind of just a pre-wedding gathering. Myself, my friend Dustin and Maria, they're getting married, and so they hosted us at their house. I'm one of the groomsmen. So we just hung out, had a good time out there. Hang out for a couple hours. Really appreciate you guys hosting us out there. It was great seeing everybody. Great to see the family, seeing your mom, your stepdad, your sister. It was really fantastic getting to hang out with everybody. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for hosting us out there. Another big shout out to a buddy of mine, another friend. He's actually getting married today. Shane Vitko. He's actually a friend of mine and a friend of the show. He's been on the show. You guys check that out. I believe it is, I'll tell you right now, it is episode number 30, episode number 30, Shane Vitko, where he was on the show. He's here in the studio, here in the house. We had a great conversation about his trials and tribulations, his struggles, and his recovery from addiction, and his new successes in life. You guys check out his show, the Deviant Gentleman podcast. You also check out his clothing line, Deviant Gentleman. Really cool thing. Really cool. Great guy. Very proud of him. Messaged with him this morning. Big wedding for them. So, hey, guys, best of luck. Can't wait to see you guys back here in town and get to hang out with you. Get to go have dinner. So, anyway, I've got a list of things. I've already now I've covered 3 or 4 of them. But so here's where we go. This is where the show typically goes. If you guys are still here with me, this is what the show typically will be about, is what I'm about to get into. It's my rants, my rambles about politics, about what's going on in the world. but I did have to shout out the beginning there. Such an amazing week, and I really want to say thank you guys. You guys have all made such a great impact on my life. I want to say thank all y'all for everything. And I can't wait to see you guys again. Can't wait to see Shane. Can't wait to see Dustin. Can't wait to see Derek. I'm definitely going to be coming out to Georgia so that Vengeance Racing can do some modifications on my car. We'll see how much fun. I'll have to trailer it out there because I'm definitely not driving that from Texas to Georgia. But anyway, we're gonna start off right here with saying I've had this conversation with so many people, and it is about transgender athletes. I don't have any problem with transgender athletes. I don't have problem with transgender individuals. I think it is wonderful. You guys should do whatever makes you happy. That is what is important in life, is being happy. It doesn't matter whether you got an Audi, whether you got an innie, whether you cut that motherfucker off or you turn it inside out. Whatever makes you happy. That is what's most important in life. The things I do in my life are about my happiness. They're not about yours. Fuck that. I'm going to do what makes me happy. But what I do have an issue with, what I do see a problem with, is that what you have is somebody that is biologically a man. They've gone through puberty. They have testicles. She has not had the surgery yet, has not had the full transition. And in my way of thinking of things, is that unless you physically cut it off or turn it inside out, you're not actually a full transgender individual. But at the same time, I think once you do that, I guess that's the question. And maybe I'm ignorant here, and anybody watching this, let me know. I guess that is the point. If you are transgendering, does that mean you're transitioning or you have transitioned? Because the way I see it is, once you have gone through that procedure, you are, if you cut it off, hey, you're a female. If you've added on and made an Audi out of an innie, you are now a male, and that's how I will recognize you, because that's what you choose. And I have no problem during the transition recognizing individuals for who they want to be. That's your prerogative, and I think that's great. You guys do what makes you happy. But when you were born a man, you were born a male, you have testicles, you went through puberty, your muscles enlarged, you created a structure, and it changed you chemically that gave you an advantage physically over women. And now you are competing at the highest level of college athletes for females in swimming. And I think that's horrendous. I think that it's horrendous that you go from the 462nd ranked male in college swimming to becoming the number one ranked female. That shows the disparity between physical attributes of male and females. There is no way that you should be able to go from the 462nd male athlete to the number one female athlete. That is not fair. That's not fair to the women that have struggled. The women have gone out there and worked hard, and they have put in the time and effort to compete and to achieve greatness in their sport. I think what is happening is it takes the women's liberation movement completely fucking backwards. You're literally telling women that you're not as good as men, because it's physically, it's showing right there. The results are the proof that women are not physically as capable as men. That is what you are saying when you are putting a man against a woman and saying, we're going to let the man compete against the woman. We're going to let someone that was born biologically a male compete against a female. And it shows. You're taking the women's liberation movement completely backwards. It's not to say, hey, you can be whatever you want. No, it literally was being said is you can be whatever you want as long as a man chooses not to compete against you. You can be the best in the world. You can be the bravest and the brightest out there as long as a man decides that he doesn't want to compete against you. As long as a man decides that he doesn't want to cut his penis off and compete against you at that level. That's literally what's being said. You're not enriching women's lives. You're not encouraging them to be better. You're not saying go out there and be the best out there, because now what you have to face is not other women that you're competing against. You have to face the potentiality that a man will decide he wants to go and compete against you and identify as a woman and say, I'm now a woman and I'm going to What's the difference? Look, I mean, I can't, I'm not going to equate the two exactly to the same, but Two of my greatest role models in life were two amazing men by the name of Keith Turner and Stephen Carter. These were American sprinters. They were great athletes. I loved watching them compete. I was a sprinter, and so it gave me it encouraged me to be better. To look, I looked up to them not only as athletes but as men. They were great guys. They always treated me well, and they are the reason, a large part of the reason why I jokingly joke around saying that I identify as a black man, because I was a sprinter. I competed with these men, eventually became very competitive with them, and could eventually beat them. And I I looked up to them, and I didn't see. Of course, we recognize the fact that they've got a much better tan than I do. They've got great melanin in their skin, but I would always say to them, say, you know what? It's because I'm half black. And again, I know that's a joke. Both of my biological parents are white. I know that if I say, hey, just because I mean, I could go out and get a great tan. I get one of those tans that bodybuilders get, and I'm going to look like a black man. But I can't walk out there and say I identify as a black man. That would be outrageous for me to walk around and say I identify as a black man. Just because I'm an athlete, just because I'm a sprinter and I carry a lot of the stereotypes that you would associate with black sprinters, that would be outrageous. Society would never accept that. I can joke around with about it because fuck it. I can joke around about it if I want to. But society would never accept that. So if you want to go and have the surgery and you want to go through the process and you want to maintain the same hormonal pattern that a woman has to, or sorry, that a woman has to, you can't have more testosterone. You have to have the complete reduction. And then you are physically a female with the exception of not having ovaries or being born a female. Fine, by all means, go compete. But if you still have testicles that are still producing testosterone, you shouldn't be able to compete against women, because all you're doing is telling women that they're not good enough. You're telling women that the only thing that they're going to be able to do is win if a man doesn't compete against them. You're not encouraging little girls to get into the sport. You're not encouraging children to say, I want to compete in this event. You're actually driving them away. You're looking at it and they're saying, why in the world would I ever want to do this? I can swim. That's great, but I can never beat this individual's times. I'll never be able to do that because it was a man. It's not fair. I think it's bad. I think it's bad for society. I think it's bad overall for sports that they allow that to happen at this stage. You shouldn't be able to go if you there should be a limit on it. I'm not saying that, people who are born a male and want to transition into a female cannot or could not or should not compete. No, I think they absolutely should, but I think that there should be a time limit on that. That you shouldn't be able to compete in this with all these other people if you exceeded a certain timeline. If you went beyond, say, 13, 14 years old, if you physically hit puberty, you shouldn't be able to compete. Don't be wrong. Biologically, there's not a lot of difference between the hormonal patterns between a male and a female all the way up to the time of puberty. But once that changes, everything goes out the fucking window for both males and females. So I mean, if it's me, I know I'm oversimplifying. I know there's a lot more complexity to all this, but if it's me, they shouldn't. If you hit puberty as a male, you should not be able to compete in female sports. Again, I always go back to this. Where are the women that transition from women to men competing in men's sports? Where are they? If it's biologically, there's no difference. And it's that easy to transition from one to the other. Where are the biologically born women who transition into men competing against biologically born men? Where is that? You don't have it. Why? If everything's equal, if everybody's equal and there's no complexity to having you can just change, make the decision one day and you're going to change and do all this other stuff. I understand that mentally that all the other stuff that, hey, you're born in a different body. I get all that. I'm not demeaning any of that. I'm simply saying that one day you decided that you're going to compete as a female instead of a male. There should be limitations on when that can occur. I think it's bad. I think it's horrible that the NCAA, shame on them for allowing it to go like this, because all it does is bring down the other women. The women born biologically as women. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to them. I wouldn't want my daughter to have to um, you know, compete like that. That's not the reason she goes and gets involved in sports. She wants to compete against other girls. She wants to compete. Don't be wrong. I guess as a competitor, you want to compete. But I don't think that there should be an unfair advantage. It's no different than you go out there and someone, you got a running race and you've given someone a motor. I mean, I saw I saw something on Breitbart today that literally said, um, Leah Thomas had illegal possession of testicles. So I get it. I understand. I think that the NCAA should do a better job of protecting the women in the sport. There should be more emphasis on protecting the women in the sport. I don't think it's fair what's being done. Um, so anyway, uh, the next thing I'll go on to, I mean, shit, I can go on about this for forever and ever and ever. The next thing I do want to go to is something it was a big deal. It was out there. It was regarding Ukraine and Russia. It was last week. Earlier in the week, they were talking about some medical facilities that were bombed, and it was shown on picture on camera. You saw a woman and a child um, that were killed. She was pregnant. And she was killed in bombing. And then at the end of the week, it actually came out through the AP. They actually had pictures of this woman coming out of the hospital. So somebody out there was putting it out that the Russians had killed this pregnant woman. Now, again, I'm definitely not on the side of what Russia is doing. I think what is happening over there in Russia or in Ukraine is outrageous. I don't think that Russia has any right to be doing what they're doing. But hey, I'm not fully educated on everything, and so I can only speak, like I said, at the 10,000-foot level. From an observer, I really don't know the ins and outs. I know details, but I can't really talk about it on here. Um, but anyway, the question that goes to this is, how much are we seeing on the news is propaganda from both the Ukrainian side and the Russian side? And at the end of the day, where is the U.S. Government's involvement in this? Because there are people on the ground. We'll just say that there are people on the ground from the United States. There are intelligence gatherers on the ground in the Ukraine for the United States. I won't go into detail about who they are, who they represent, or anything like that, but there are people on the ground. They know what's happening and they know why it's happening. They knew why it was going to happen ahead of time. Hell, we could have stopped it. We could have kept it from happening altogether, but they didn't. And you have to ask why. What benefit? There is always some type of benefit. Whether it's the benefit of action or the benefit of inaction. Sometimes you actually benefit by doing absolutely nothing. Was it the US government's intention to not be involved simply so that Russia looks like assholes and we put pressure on them so that way we can buy oil for cheaper because they're going to need more and more money? Was that our intention? If that's the case, fine. That, by all means, that one is fantastic. I think everybody can accept that one, to say, hey, we did absolutely nothing because we knew it was going to cause Russia to look very bad, very poor on the worldwide stage. It was going to put a lot of pressure on them. It was going to take away influence between Russia and China. China was no longer going to be able to rely on Russia as a valued asset because they're sullied and no one's going to want to have to deal with that. And China wants to do business with everybody around the world. So they're not going to be able to do business openly and publicly with Russia. But that's not what happened on that side. So I'm not sure how far that goes down the road. But we could have stopped it. We could have kept all of it from happening. So there is some benefit for allowing it to happen. There is something that the US is going to benefit by allowing it to happen. There's going to be benefit somewhere. There has to be. The US government is not an altruistic entity. They are there for profit. The US government is a corporation. We were incorporated. The US government, the country was incorporated, and we are for profit. Yes, as we look at, if you look at the US government is no different than a business. There are business expenses for paying for security. We got to pay for lighting. We got to pay for the building, that we operate out of. We got to pay for the employees. And they do donations. Just like most corporations, they provide donations and charitable proceeds and things like that. So the US government is no different than a business. And that's how they operate. So there has to be a benefit from their action or inaction. There is a reason for it. And the US government not getting involved is bothersome because they obviously feel they benefit more by not getting directly involved. That's the scary part. When someone drops a bomb, that's definitive. You know why that's happening. There's no question about it. The scary part is they're not getting involved. Why? There has to be more benefit by not getting involved. That's the scary part. That's the part that bothers me. I can deal with physical force. I recognize physical force. You can see that. You can see somebody coming with a truck or a gun or a knife or swinging at you. You can deal with that. You can't deal with the things operating in the shadows, the information that's traveling around that you don't have access to, that you don't know about. That is scary. To me, that's the scariest part. Now, again, I'm not looking like for nefarious actions. I'm not talking about the government doing bad things or something, crazy is happening, but there's benefit somewhere. So I go back to, I talked about this where Trevor Noah, very outspoken liberal, Bill Maher, very outspoken liberal, have all said this would not have happened under Trump. This would not have happened under Donald J. Trump as president. It wouldn't have occurred. And again, it's not because they fear him for the fact that he's so dangerous. They don't know what he's capable of. Like I just said, the scary part is what you don't know. Well, again, Biden has been in office for 50 years. They know what he's going to do. They have a psychological profile on him. Every country around the world has a psychological profile on him for their own ends. And they've already determined what he will and will not do. He's in his 70s. He's not changing as an individual. He's been in office for 50 years. He's not changing his policies and procedures. He's going to operate the same way he has, the way he knows. So they all have psychological profiles on him. They know exactly what he was going to do. So Russia already having a pretty good idea, the odds are higher that he's going to do absolutely nothing. Russia goes in and they make their move. Well, how many other countries are going to now step in and do that? See, it's not just about Russia. It's not the reason they say this would not have happened under Trump. It's not just because Russia invades Ukraine. It's because how many other countries are going to become emboldened by Biden's inaction? Because Biden chooses to do nothing. How many other countries are going to choose to act? Okay. For example, we had a bombing of a U.S. facility over in Iraq. Didn't happen under Trump. Well, we did. There was a rocket there. I guess there was a suicide bombing, and then we immediately launched rockets at that individual. Definitely did happen under Trump. There was a bombing, and we immediately launched rockets, and we fucking killed him because that's what the U.S. government's supposed to do. It's supposed to defend Americans and retaliate in the defense of Americans. So I think Biden's inaction has caused a lot of bravery around the world. I think it's emboldened a lot of people. And I think that we need to be on, we as Americans are going to have to be very vigilant in watching what's happening out there. Which leads directly into Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, was able to get on the board of Burisma, the largest energy producer in the Ukraine. Ironically, with all that stuff, where we're at right now with the Russia and Ukraine, Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma. He'd never had any previous experience in that sector, in that industry, and somehow gets put on the board and is being paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. Okay. So now we don't intervene in the incursion of the Russian incursion into the Ukraine. And finally, the New York Times has verified that the Hunter Biden laptop story is true. See, during the election, the New York Post came out with the story about Hunter Biden's laptop, and it was scrubbed from the internet. You could not post about it. The New York Post was censored by Twitter. They are a media outlet. They are one of the oldest media outlets in the country. And they were censored by social media. They were censored by big tech. They made a post about their news article. Their article that they published in their own paper was about Hunter Biden's laptop, and it was taken down by Twitter, by Facebook, by YouTube. You could not post about it. If you did, it was removed from the internet. Well, now, just yesterday, day before, it has been confirmed by the New York Times now that the Hunter Biden story, the Hunter Biden laptop story, is true. It is factual. But it was suppressed during the election. All of the information on the laptop was suppressed. The FBI was in possession of Hunter Biden's laptop that supposedly, allegedly, had business transactions and revealed who the big guy was. Who it is believed that the big guy that they talk about, the big guy is Joe Biden, because Joe Biden was receiving, or it's suspected that, or reported that Joe Biden was receiving kickbacks, that the money actually going to Hunter Biden was intended for Joe Biden for influence. Obviously, like I said, Joe Biden has been in office for 50 years. So there's going to be a lot of, people that are going to be out there and they want to get influence through Joe Biden. So what happens? What happens now? You had the media, you had big tech that was suppressing information that could have dramatically changed the outcome of the election. Who's going to be responsible for that? Should big tech be able to operate anymore? Should YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all big tech, should they be taken down? Should they be punished? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, they are responsible. They had a hand in what is going on today. They fortified the election and they withheld information and they suppressed information that allowed Donald Trump to be beaten by a cognitively handicapped individual, Joe Biden, that is now running our country. That is now the figurehead of our country. Inflation is now at an all-time high. Gas is reaching all-time high record levels all over the country. We're damn near $6 here. We were $5.49 yesterday a gallon for diesel fuel here in Houston. That's unheard of. It's absolutely outrageous. All of this is happening under Joe Biden and his administration. And all of that could have been changed. All of that could have been avoided for a few mean tweets. But media, big media, their fucking asses were hurt. They were rubbed raw because Donald Trump didn't need their money. He didn't fucking need them. Their ratings were at all-time high whenever they reported on Donald Trump. Anytime Donald Trump got in front of the camera, anytime Donald Trump was speaking, their ratings went through the roof. They had never been so high. CNN's ratings were higher during Donald Trump than when they were the only 24-hour news channel out there. They had higher ratings during Donald Trump's press conferences than when Fox News and CNBC didn't even exist. They were getting more viewers than before people had other options. That should tell you something. America did not mind the mean tweets. because I have seen it. I've seen it firsthand. They couldn't mind it. And if they did, they were a hypocrite by saying that they did. And here's why. I have a friend, and I'll consider him a friend because I can be friends with people with different ideological viewpoints and everything else. But I have a friend who, in a post on Facebook, is railing against Donald Trump, calling him a nasty individual, talking about how he spoke poorly of women. And then they go down the road of the press secretaries, Kayleigh McEnany and Jen Psaki. And he was saying that at least, Jen Psaki doesn't have to lie. Jen Psaki doesn't have to cover up all this other stuff. At least Jen Psaki gets what he's going down this road. And he's saying that Jen Psaki, at least, she's representing a good person, whatever. And at the same time, turns around and calls Kayleigh McEnany a bimbo in writing. And I took a screenshot of it. I made sure because I don't want him to try to crawfish on this and go backwards and try to say, oh, I didn't say that. No, the fuck you did. You're literally talking about Trump saying bad things about women, calling women bad names, and you call a woman you don't know a bimbo, an offensive term. Just because you don't like the person she represented. And that's the kind of person that is railing against someone like Donald Trump, saying, oh, mean tweets, the guy's bad, he says these mean, nasty things. But that's how you talk in private. That's how you talk about women and people in private. So you can't really care about what Donald Trump says. You care what people think of you for representing or recognizing Donald Trump as the better candidate. So you didn't vote what would be best for the country. You voted for what would be best for you as an individual on an emotional level. Because now your taxes are higher. Now your fuel is higher. And people like you are the fucking hypocrites. I won't give his name out here, but people like him, he's a friend of mine, but people like him are hypocrites. They're willing to say things. They're willing to accept things from one side because it fits their ideological patterns and beliefs. And that's not fair. That's not being consistent. Look, I'm going to call, like I said, I've always said this. I'm going to call a spade a spade. If someone says bad shit, I'm going to call it out. I don't give a fuck who they are. I don't care who they are, what side they represent. What's fair is fair. I'm going to be equally offensive to one side as I am to the other. I didn't like Donald Trump as an individual. I don't think Donald Trump was a good person individually. I think he's done a lot of bad things individually. As a private citizen, prior to him becoming president of the United States, I think he's done a lot of stupid shit. He said a lot of stupid shit. Do I care that Donald Trump sits there and eats fucking cheeseburgers and Dr. Peppers and Diet Cokes every single day? No, it's none of my fucking business. As president, do I think that makes him any less capable as president of the United States because he does that? No. Do I think that because 20, 30 years ago, he talked about grabbing a woman by her pussy? Do I think that disqualifies him as a competent leader? No. Does that speak to his individual character as a human being, as a man? Yes. But what's fair is fair. Joe Biden said the N-word 3 times on the floor of the Congress when speaking about black people. Oh, but he's changed. He's changed. But Donald Trump couldn't change? Donald Trump is the same exact person today that he was 20 years ago, 30 years ago? That's hypocrisy. It's like this same person I'm talking about wanted to go after the guy who created MyPillow. Now, again, I think the guy who created MyPillow is a bit nuts. I think he's a little bit crazy. I think he says a lot of crazy shit. But is he saying it to get attention to sell his product, or is it something he actually believes? We don't know that. He could tell you he believes it just to sell his fucking product. People do that. People are going to tell the media whatever the fuck they want to hear so they can sell a product. The guy went from literally being destitute. He was flat broke, a addicted crackhead, addicted to crack. Had no money in his pocket whatsoever. Now is worth millions upon millions of dollars. If he was to sell his company today, it would be valued somewhere between $350 and $500 million. They do anywhere between $150 and $300 million a year in revenue. The guy literally created, he was on QVC, created a if you look, it depends on how you look at it. He doesn't do billions of dollars a year in revenue, but he has done billions of dollars in total in revenue. All because he says crazy shit. And people like it. People choose to align with it. Hey, that's cool. People like that. But he's not the ruler of my country. He's not the leader of my country. He's a guy selling fucking pillows and bedding. Why do I don't have to fucking care what he has to say. I know what he's doing is partially just to get people to buy his product. And that's partially why I dismiss a lot of fucking politicians. Why? Because their product is them. They're selling their product. They're getting you to vote for them. They want to get reelected. That is their job. They're going to say whatever the fuck they have to say to get elected. Wake the fuck up, people. How do you not see this? Politicians are going to say whatever it takes to get elected. They're going to say whatever it takes that they think is going to get them elected. They're going to go back and forth. I mean, here in Texas, we got Governor Abbott. Person running against him, he's Republican. Person running against him is going to be Beto O'Rourke, as people just call him Beto, because he tries to avoid being associated with his Irish background because he is from El Paso. So he wants to culturally appropriate the Hispanic community and associate himself on that side. But no one else on that side. If a Republican candidate was doing that, oh my God, you would have fucking heads being cut off. So, oh my God, it'd be so outrageous if a Republican candidate was doing that. But anyway, Beto is going to run on a platform largely on two things. One, he wants to legalize marijuana. Great. That should be done. Oop. Got my chair. That should be done. Marijuana should be legalized here in Texas. There's no reason that it shouldn't be. Okay. The problem he's going to have is he can't keep his fucking mouth shut about guns here in Texas. He came out already and was doing very well with a lot of people by saying the very first thing he's going to do is legalize marijuana in the state of Texas. Couldn't keep his fucking mouth shut. So now he turns around and wants to institute a statewide buyback of ARs and AKs in the state of Texas. Can't keep your fucking mouth shut. Honestly, you would probably get a shitload of people voting for you, even from the conservative or Republican side, if you just kept your fucking mouth shut about guns, went about your business and legalized marijuana. You'd probably win. Now you're gonna fucking lose. Abbott needs to legalize marijuana. I think at some point, Abbott is going to come out with a very weak position against marijuana, because he's going to want to say things that are going to get people to his side. He's done a lot of shit here in the state that a lot of people don't agree with. There's a lot of stuff that he's done that I don't agree with. I don't agree with how he handled the pandemic. I don't agree with the 6-week abortion bill. There's a lot of fucking things he's done here that I don't agree with. And quite honestly, I would have no problem voting him out of office if there was another Republican that we could vote for. There isn't one now. I think we had the lowest turnout in the primaries in the history, like the absolute lowest numbers. I guess it was pretty much a foregone conclusion to what everybody thought who was going to be our Republican and Democrat candidates. So it really sucks. And that's just, guys, wake the fuck up. Politicians are going to say shit. It's not a lie because they're making campaign promises. And then when they can't deliver on that, it's somebody else's fault. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why Joe Biden can't deliver on his campaign promise to eliminate student debt. Now, I don't have any student debt. I'm very fortunate in that respect. I don't have any student debt. I know people that will be paying on their student debt for 20 years. Do I think there is some benefit to eliminating student debt, wiping all that out? Yes. Do I see the reason why it shouldn't be done? Yes. I can see both sides. I'm an objective observer. I can see both sides. I can say why it should and should not be done. I totally get it. It would cause a complete meltdown of our financial system if we just uniformly wiped it out completely. Should there be some people that have it wiped out? Sure, yes. Do I think that it's right that a student, that somebody went to college, that they decided to go to college and they got a degree in some bullshit fucking industry like liberal arts, and they don't work in that industry and they're pissed off because they're a barista at fucking Starbucks or they serve fries at McDonald's? No, fuck that. You made that choice. You could have gone and been a plumber. You could have gone and been an electrician. You didn't need to go get a fucking liberal arts degree so that you can walk around and be fun and be free and drink all fucking day and smoke weed on the goddamn campus and not actually learn anything. Nothing that's actually going to contribute to society. And you don't work in that industry. You're not a fucking artist. You're not creating in Hollywood. You're not a musician. You're not doing anything in the arts. You're not contributing anything to society, but yet you went and racked up $100,000 in debt and now fucking society should pay it off? Hold the fuck on. Why should I have to pay for your stupid ass fucking education? Why? You made that fucking choice. You paid that shit off. Should have gone and got a fucking degree in engineering. Should have stayed home and gone to a trade school. Don't put it on me and the rest of the fucking American people to pay off your goddamn debt, because that's what's going to happen. That money was spent. It goes somewhere. It's not just going to fucking reappear. The banks aren't just going to be paid back. If the federal government wipes that out, it's underwritten by the federal government. It will create a complete fucking meltdown. There are trillions upon trillions of dollars owed in student debt. If it is completely wiped out, it will fucking cause a collapse of the financial system. Complete. The financial system is underwritten by debt. These are things that they should be teaching in school. It's not about cash on hand. It's about the promise and the ability to repay. That's debt. When a company goes and gets a loan, it's not based on how much cash they have in their bank. That is a factor. It is based on their ability to repay it. Their ability to assume debt and how they can repay it. Okay. That is what the fucking world is built on. The economic system is built on debt. There are loans, there are corporations, there are financial institutions that exist today because they assumed the student debt. And you will have corporations, you'll have, everything will go down. You think that we got high gas prices now? You think that we got fucking high inflation now? Wipe out trillions of dollars in expected revenue over the next 20 to 30 years, and you'll have everything fucking come down. You guys are bitching and complaining about fucking high gas prices or the cost of milk right now, as we should be. Wait until that shit happens. Wait until a real financial crisis happens. Not this inflated manufactured shit because we drove up a stock bubble or the housing bubble. Not because of that. You're talking about the entire financial industry is backed by debt and heavily underwritten by student loans that are backed by the federal government. And if the federal government's got to pay that shit, they're not going to wipe it out. They're going to say someone doesn't have to pay it. They're going to say that this person who went here and got a liberal arts degree doesn't have to repay that fucking debt to the financial institution. That doesn't mean that the federal government is going to be out that money. The federal government's got contracts with these financial institutions. They're going to have to pay it back somehow. How are they going to fucking do that? They're going to raise taxes. You're going to lose entitlements. You're going to lose subsidies. It's going to fucking go away. Anyway, that's another conversation I've gotten into with somebody, and I'm not sure he's bright enough to understand it. I don't think he's got the mental capacity to understand what the difference is between entitlements and subsidies. So let's understand. An entitlement is something that an individual gets from the federal government or the government in general. An entitlement means like something like Medicare, Medicaid. Those are entitlements. The government is paying for that, providing that to the people. Okay. An entitlement is something like being able to get low cost housing. Okay. An entitlement, those are entitlements. A subsidy is something that is provided to a corporation to reduce their taxes, their liabilities, or even provide them money so that they will turn around and put something back into the economy that benefits individuals. When you have Section 8 housing, low-cost income housing or low-income housing, however you want to phrase it. Section 8 housing is subsidized by the federal government. Okay? Federal government steps in with some of these, with apartment complexes and property owners and says, hey, we understand that you could rent these apartments out at $1,400 a month, but we want to put low income families in there. So we want you to charge $400 a month and we will subsidize you $1,000 a month. Those apartments, they're not fucking doing this for free. They're charging the people $400 a month, but they're making the other $1,000 a month from the government. They turn in vouchers and receipts and the government repays them. That's called a fucking subsidy. They're subsidizing that corporation so that what the benefit that the individual gets is called an entitlement. The individual has to apply for the entitlement through the federal government. They have to show that they qualify for the low cost income or low income housing. They have to show they qualify for that. The property has to apply to show that they are providing that to a certain amount of people, that they are So one's an entitlement, one's a subsidy. Corporations get subsidized, individuals get entitled. That's the way it fucking works. And there's this individual that I talk to all the time on Facebook who's on the East Coast, and I don't think he fucking has the mental faculties to understand it. He goes around and around and around about nonsense. He wants to talk about that the oil, gas, and look, I live in Texas. I'm all for the oil and gas industry, but I'm also for the fucking wind and solar industry. I'm for the tech industry. I'm for the construction industry. I'm for the insurance industry. I'm for whatever makes this country fucking better. Generate revenue, generate money. I'm for whatever that fucking takes. But he wants to sit here. This guy wants to sit here and rail against the oil and gas, against the wind and solar energy because the U.S. government is subsidizing, providing tax incentives, lowering taxes for them to go build in certain areas, giving them money altogether, billions upon billions of dollars to go build solar farms and wind farms and develop new technology. He's pissed off because the federal government is doing this for this industry. He works in the oil and gas industry and forgets or doesn't even think that he's got the strongest fucking supercomputer in his hand that's ever been known to man. He could do a little search right there and say, has the oil and gas industry ever been subsidized? Yes. Abso-fucking-lutely. The federal government subsidized the oil and gas industry in its infancy. They allowed it to occur. You got to remember, we still live in the United States. If the federal government at the end of the day, wants to come in and say they want to claim eminent domain over something, they're going to fucking do that. They're going to do it. So don't sit there and complain that because you work in the oil and gas industry and you think that the electric car industry or the electric power industry is getting a leg up because the federal government is saying that they want them to succeed. Well, the federal government wants the fucking oil and gas industry to succeed too. But we as a country should incorporate it. And since the federal government subsidized the oil and gas industry in the very beginning, why shouldn't they be able to do that to the wind and solar energy? Why shouldn't they be able to do that to the renewable energy industry? Why? Why not? It's not like they're picking winners and losers. They're saying we want this industry to succeed and we want this industry to succeed. Now, does the Biden administration have something going on that says we want to get away from fossil fuels? Hey, everybody should want that. But they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Everybody wanted to complain back in the day years ago when they were, we got gas guzzling vehicles. We went from, we had, you got the sports cars back in the 60s and 70s. You got the fucking hot rods. You got the Camaros and the Novas and the Chevelles. You have all these big block engines that are out there. Well, now, they're gas guzzlers. Well, now we got fuel efficient vehicles. Well, the oil, we only have to look back 20 years to where people were complaining about fuel efficient vehicles. Why is there such a big push on fuel efficient vehicles? Well, let's not be a fucking hypocrite. You can't sit there and complain about high gas prices when your entire job depends on higher gas prices. Your livelihood depends on higher gas prices. So don't be a hypocrite and complain about higher gas prices, but at the same time, complain about ways to reduce the fucking gas prices. It's not going to be short. It's not going to be easy. The infrastructure that we live under today didn't fucking happen overnight. It didn't exist over fucking night. It took hundreds of years to get where we are as a country today. To have the infrastructure that we have now was built. The road, the interstate system was built after the Great Depression. Again, going back to this, he wants to complain about the government subsidizing the oil or the wind and solar industry. Let's not be fucking fools here. What brought us out of the Great Depression was the United States forming the largest employment program ever in history. What'd they do? They built the fucking interstate road and bridge system across the country. That's what was done. The oil and gas industry was subsidized by the federal government to produce more because we had to produce asphalt and concrete, and you had to have the fuel to run all the vehicles that were out there building everything. And you had to have fuel to build the infrastructure that was going to support them. That meant building factories. That meant building trucks. That meant supplying trains. And that was all subsidized. The U.S. government didn't just say, okay, we're going to build roads. They said, we're going to build entire infrastructure. That was done with oil. They subsidized oil and gas. That's what brought us out of the Great Depression. Oil and gas was heavily involved in bringing us out of the Great Depression, and it was subsidized by the federal government. Don't be fucking foolish. Don't be ignorant. Don't be a hypocrite. We do need to have a larger presence of solar and wind throughout the United States. I think our number one source for energy should be going to nuclear, though. We should be producing nuclear power at levels. There's no reason why we shouldn't have it. There's absolutely no reason why we should not have nuclear power as the predominant power source in the United States. We put hundreds of men and women on ships and submarines with nuclear reactors on them, and they're completely safe. No long-term effects. They're not blowing up. I mean, there's a couple hundred ships out there right now that are floating around in the ocean that have nuclear reactors on them that aren't fucking blowing up. I mean, and look what we're facing. You're facing. You got cruise ships that burn 1,000 gallons of fuel an hour. You got the ships that are bringing fuel from Africa or the Middle East that are burning a couple thousand gallons of diesel fuel an hour as they're coming across carrying diesel fuel or carrying oil to be refined over here. Let's not be fucking hypocrites. Let's not be fucking assholes about this shit. We do need to add to our energy repertoire. Let's face the reality that we're going to live in a new society where oil and gas, the production of oil and gas, is going to be held down. There's always going to be people out there that want less and less oil and gas production. So why not take the steps to insulate ourselves from that? As a country, that's a fucking smart thing to do. As an industry like oil and gas, look at cars, look at car manufacturers. They've insulated themselves from just the sole need or the ability to get gas. People want electric cars. Again, we need the oil and gas industry. It's not going anywhere. But we need the solar and wind industry as well. We need that. So anyway, guys, I want to say thank you. I'm going to end it here. We're reaching about an hour. I've ranted and rambled on. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully I entertained more than I offended. But if I did offend, hey, fuck you. Sorry. Really not sorry. It is what the fuck it is. It's too goddamn bad. But hey, guys, if you like what I'm doing here, FJB, hashtag FJB. You guys can see it. Can bring it over here a little bit. Yep. But you guys like what I'm doing here, give me a like, give me a subscribe, turn on the notifications. I've had lots of people sitting here watching it. I appreciate it. It would be great if you guys would comment a little bit on here, talk some shit. I would be more than happy to respond to you guys. I can see that there are people watching all the time coming in and out. I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. Like I said, if you like what I'm doing, give me a like, give me a subscribe, turn on the notification button so you guys get notified when I do go live, when I post a new show. I have lots of great shows coming up. I'm going to say this here at the very end of the show that the show has hit a milestone with YouTube. I I have been accepted into the YouTube Partner Program, which does a lot of different things for the show. It gives me a lot of different abilities with the show. It changes the algorithm for the show, where I'll be presented, things like that. And so it's going to put me in a different place that just kind of like snowballs and gives me the ability to get better and better guests, more and more guests. And I say that not just in general. It allows me to get more and more guests. I should say that because the people I have had on have just been fantastic. I've got a show coming up that'll be posted probably this week. I've got with Charlie Bennett. I've got with Henry Walker. I got with Derek Downing. I got a couple guys. The owner, his name is Justin Wagner. He's the owner of a large music venue, concert music venue here in the Houston area. So super excited about that. Actually going to do an on location with that one. Did on location with Derek Downing there at the racetrack. Was really fun. Really enjoyed that. Not a long one, 20, 30 minutes, I think, something like that. But really enjoyed that one. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all the kind comments that you guys provide. I really appreciate it. I get lots of messages all the time. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody out there. You guys are great. Even the ones that hate, hey, you guys are even better because I know y'all are watching this shit all the fucking time, especially the haters. The people that like me, the people that love me are the ones that don't watch this very much. You fucking haters out there, y'all motherfuckers got nothing better to do than to watch me. And I love it. Thank you so much because you guys increase my watch hours, my watch time. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Keep being a piece of shit. I know a couple of you guys out there. I know who some of you guys are. Keep being a piece of shit because, hey, you just make me look better. How fucked up you are, how fucked up your life is makes me look better. And that says a lot. That's pretty difficult to do to make me look better. Shows how fucked up you are. But I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys. You're helping me. You're not hurting me. You're helping me. And anytime you guys talk about me on your other shit, on your shows, say things about me, it only helps me. It only helps me. Notice how I never say names. Notice how I never bring up anybody's name on here of anybody except for the positive people that come on my show, things like that. Notice how I never do that because I'm not going to give you the fucking publicity. But when you talk about me, you are giving me free publicity. So I have to say thank you guys. Thank you so very fucking much. You guys are the best. You guys are my best cheerleaders. You're my number one fucking cheering squad. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, you don't even fucking know. You guys are my best fucking cheerleaders. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to go have lunch. I got some chores I got to get done, but I appreciate it. Thank you guys so very much. And I will talk to y'all very, very soon.